And I end up at a Waffle House like 50 miles away from where I was. I said, that's not possible. You just left here like a moment ago.
And so in response to this, naturally, some reporters went to the Waffle House that Gregg Phillips claimed to have teleported to. Strangely, no one recalled ever having seen him. First of all, ego, why you? He could have teleported that downed soldier out of Iran. Why is he taking Gregg to a Waffle House?
Would teleportation work? It does.
Don't do this to me, Brian.
First things first, this message is sponsored by Raycon. Folks, I don't want to alarm you, but Mother's Day is coming up. This is the perfect time to find your mum a gift that fits perfectly into her everyday life. And guess what? Raycon's got you covered. Bet you never saw that coming. Whether she's going for a walk, talking on the phone, running her errands, the Raycon Essential Open Earbuds are a great shout. Because of the open ear design, she can hear what's going on around her while she's listening to her favourite podcasts or music. The sound stays clear and balanced without feeling closed off from the world around, which keeps your mum safe. And we all want to keep our moms safe. As you probably know, regular earbuds tend to block out pretty much everything. Say your mum loves gardening, she wants to listen to her favourite podcasts or some music while she's pulling up the weeds, but she's gotta listen out for her 5,000 Amazon deliveries. These are the perfect solution. I've talked about this before, these are so lightweight that you barely notice that they're there, and yet because of the way that it hooks around your ear, allow me to demonstrate, no movement. They don't fall out, they don't get uncomfortable, that goes for if you're a glasses wearer too. I tend to wear these while I'm exercising so I can listen to stupid videos while I'm hearing the instructor on my phone. Just like other Raycon devices, these have multi-point connectivity, great battery life, these have 36 hours of battery life with the case. I charge these maybe once a week, that is also a great bonus for a forgetful mom. Plus, and I feel like mums will appreciate this as much as I do, they come in a range of cute colours. Go to buyraycon.com/EmmaThorneOpen to get 15% off the Essential Open earbuds. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Hello lovely people, my name is Emma. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. I've shied away from the news a little bit recently, particularly US politics, because it feels like, what do I have to say that hasn't already been reported immediately? Trump is losing whatever remains of his marbles, teaming up with his bestie bro, Benjamin Netanyahu, to destabilize the whole Middle East and drive gas prices through the roof, because I guess Trump forgot that the Hormuz Strait exists, because Iran have not yet cried uncle, as Trump eloquently describes it. He's taken the typical stance of a world leader at war and posted lots of angry, shouty rants on his conspiratorial right-wing social media service, Truth Social. I only really bring it up because there's one tiny clip that I just want to show you for the fun of it, just in case you missed it in all of the Trump threatens Iran madness that is reported on every single day. A US airman was downed in Iran and was bravely rescued by US troops, and Trump decided to talk about this at the most unhinged moment you can possibly imagine, at the White House Easter egg roll next to the Easter Bunny.
So today is a very special day. It's a day where we celebrate Jesus. It's a day where we celebrate religion. And it's an honor to be the President of the United States. Our country is doing so well, like it has never done before. You'll see that very shortly. And things that we've done have not been done before. We've broken every record on the stock market. We've broken every record in our military. And what about the rescue that took place yesterday? What about that?
I feel so privileged to have done a mascot job. to just get an insight into what might be going on in this person's mind. I know for a fact that the number one thing they'll be thinking right now is, thank God this is anonymous. Thank God this is an anonymous gig. Thank God no one will know that I was the Easter Bunny that stood next to Trump while he threatened Iran. God, I hope they got paid really well. I hope they got a really good paycheck. Do you think the Easter Bunny got like a warning? It's like, listen, this is Trump. He's probably just gonna rant about something he's recently heard, and it's gonna be very unrelated to Easter and not child-friendly, and you just gotta go with it. You just gotta emote as gently as you can within the rabbit costume. Trump goes on to talk about how usually those rescue missions are, lots of lives are lost and stuff, and the bunny's just kind of like, sad head movement.
You really don't have a chance. They get shot down. You lose 200 in order to pick up one. It's a horrible thing.
The next weirdest thing is not technically Trump's fault because he took questions from reporters on the lawn, but it's still the egg roll, right? So that's just like the jazzy marching band in the background while he's talking about Iran?
What's stopping you from ending the war?
Well, it could end very quickly, the war. They do what they have to do. They have to do certain things. They know that. They've been negotiating, I think, in good faith, but we're obliterating, and they just don't want to say uncle. They don't want to cry, as the expression goes, uncle, but they will. And if they don't, they'll have no bridges, they'll have no power plants, they'll have no anything. I won't go further because there are other things that are worse than those two.
So yeah, that is the state of the world at present. You don't really need reminding of that. What I want to talk to you about today is a Trump government official. That is, of course, Gregg Phillips, who leads the Office of Response and Recovery. I can't get those the right way around in my brain for some reason. Who leads the Office of Response and Recovery in FEMA. He is a top FEMA official and a nutty far-right conspiracy theorist. Yes, this is my bread and butter, people. Gregg has been floating around the news cycle recently after some podcast appearances in which he talked about several quote-unquote spiritual experiences, including teleportation.
It was scary in a way. I mean, you don't really know. Okay, is this evil? Is this good? What is this? What do I do with this? How do I deal with it? I was on the phone. Oh my God, what's happening? And I was landed about 40 miles away in a ditch outside of a Baptist church.
First of all, possibly most importantly of all, I think it is a failure of education and healthcare systems that so many people, particularly in the US, if we're being honest, experience these bizarre phenomena where they feel like they've traveled and they don't remember the time in between, or whatever. They feel as though they've teleported, and they don't first think, perhaps I should seek medical assistance. There might be something wrong with me. Rather, they think, I have been teleported. Is this an evil phenomena or a good phenomena? And then they go on right-wing conspiracy podcasts to talk about their teleportation experiences. I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem that these people don't even seem to consider that it might be a physical health issue that they're experiencing.
I was with my boys one time, and I was telling I was going to go to Waffle House and get Waffle House. And I ended up at a Waffle House. This is in Georgia. And I ended up at a Waffle House like 50 miles away from where I was. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "A Waffle House." They said, Waffle House where?" And I said, "Waffle House in Rome, Georgia." They said, "That's not possible. You just left here like a moment ago." But it was possible. It was real.
Okay, here's my second point. My first question: if teleportation exists and is some kind of either supernatural phenomena or alien or whatever the other conspiracy theories say, why are they taking Gregg Phillips to a Waffle House? Who's that benefiting? If that's the work of the devil, what the fuck gives? Why would the devil help him get to a Waffle House in a scary way? The rest of the world is safe in the knowledge that teleportation is not a real thing that exists and that can happen to them. But for Gregg, the devils, the angels, the aliens, they've said, right, this guy, he needs waffles. It's funny, but it feels slightly mean, because if you genuinely believe you've teleported multiple times, just in his car, interesting point, just in his car. Should I go on a weird personal tangent? Fuck it, I'll tell you, who cares? Those of you who have been around here for a long time know that my interest in conspiracy theories and the people who suffer as part of conspiracy circles is because I grew up with a father who believed in all of the conspiracy theories, all the big American conspiracy theories. I was taught all the New World Order stuff. There was a fairly long, not for Americans, it's like a very brief journey for you guys because your country's massive, but for our tiny country, there's a fairly long drive from where I live with my mum to my dad's home. And sometimes the mileage didn't always perfectly add up. And we would semi-joke that aliens intercepted us in the middle and cut some of the miles out. And hearing this story, and the fact that this guy has been on all these podcasts talking about teleportation experiences, combined with the fact that both of his experiences occurred in the car, made me wonder if this thing with my dad hadn't been because he had heard all of these conspiracy theories about teleporting while driving. In a way, it's almost a nice conspiracy theory, because it's just kind of like there's a helpful alien out there who has a spare 5 minutes to cut down people's journey times. It's like, Gregg wants to get waffles? Yeah, I'll help him out. You know, they got the big war table with all the little figurines. He pushes Gregg Wallace's car closer to a Waffle House. He's like, oops, There were Nero Waffle Houses, but that's fine, I gotta get back to my real job. So this is like a real thing that people believe happens, but for some reason it seems to occur in vehicles only. Something to do with when you're traveling long distances, maybe, or the way that, like, I don't know, when you're on like a highway or a motorway and it's very samey, there can be something sort of weirdly mystical almost about that kind of traveling, at least to me. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, you've got to employ a little bit of rationality, Gregg. And so in response to this, naturally, some reporters went to the Waffle House that Gregg Phillips claimed to have teleported to. Weirdly, strangely, no one recalled ever having seen him. I've seen it all, but I've never seen that. Tony Berg, who has worked at the diner for more than a decade, told the New York Times. None of the 24 workers and regulars interviewed by the newspaper at all 3 Waffle House locations in Rome, a city of roughly 33,000 people, said they had experienced any metaphysical activity. No one even recognized a picture of Phillips. I can say I've been drunk and ended up in a Waffle House. Don't know how I got there, but I was there. The revelations have prompted Democrats to question his fitness for office at the agency. Yeah, man. Like, at the very least, because, I don't know, he might have some form of epilepsy. Some memory or processing issue, or like, you know, even if it's not that he's crazy, which is obviously what they're hinting at, something's wrong. My flap died. It's okay, it's rechargeable. On Truth Social, he wrote a response. The word teleportation was not mine. It was used by somebody else in the conversation reaching for language to describe something with no easy name. The more accurate biblical terms are translated or transported, not new ideas for people of faith. And damn, if that isn't such a good get-out clause for believing in unconventional things that might cause people to question your mental health. That is the friendliest way I can think of describing that. Is to be like, well, it's a spiritual thing. If you'd read the Bible, you'd know that this is a spirit. Yeah, okay, they've said somebody else used the word teleported, even though that is exactly what I'm saying and was agreeing had happened to me. But it's a spiritual thing, so you can't criticize me for believing that that happened to me because it's a Bible thing. Clearly I am just better Christian than you. Which is the same reason that other people we've looked at on this channel have not sought out medical help when they've had things that sound like seizures that they've believed have been encounters with Jesus, etc. Gosh, how many people throughout history have had a messiah complex? How many people have believed that angels, demons, the devil have been talking to them directly and instructing them? How many of those people have been suffering from severe mental health disorders? I'm not suggesting that's what Gregg is going through. Based on how he talks and his demeanour, I think he's big into right-wing conspiracy circles, and that doesn't make you crazy, that just makes you, it's cult-like, it makes you basically part of a cult, with all of this confirmation bias just going around in a little bubble. So he's just going to have that belief reinforced. It sounds more like, if there is anything wrong with him, it sounds more like I say, a physical condition, because essentially what he's describing is losing time. Which is a very scary thing. No wonder he described it as a frightening experience. It would be, but it's the sort of frightening experience that you should be confiding to your GP, not to right-wing conspiracy podcasts. Although, to be perfectly honest with you, the several Truth Social posts that Gregg has written defending himself do smack of perhaps an underlying mental health issue fueling this belief. God will not be mocked. People can debate me, question me, even ridicule what they don't understand. But here's a real question. What's harder to believe? That God could move in a moment during a spiritual battle, or Jesus Christ rose from the dead and is coming again? I know what I've experienced. I know who I serve. Listen, it's Easter time. It's just past Easter when you're watching this. So, I'm not here to belittle anyone's faith, but I do believe that those things are both equally unlikely. I think the idea that God in human form died and rose from the dead is an impossible thing to believe. I also think God moving in a moment during a spiritual battle, as well as just being a bit of a word salad, but if we take that to mean God teleported me to a Waffle House, I also find that equally hard to believe. Why? Why? Gregg, why? Why would God do this? If this is a spiritual thing, first of all, ego, why you? He could have teleported that downed soldier out of Iran if he wanted to use the gift of teleportation to aid his special people. Why is he taking Gregg to a Waffle House. What kind of prankster bullshit is God playing? Writing weird, religious, conspiratorial poetry about how God was definitely involved in him teleporting, even though he described at the time, he described it as a terrifying experience. He didn't know whether it was evil or good. He's decided now that people are hating on him that it was God, and therefore you can't criticize. Right, that's what Gregg says. Let's look at an expert for a second. Every mother's favourite spaceman. It's Brian Cox.
Would teleportation work? It does.
I'm sorry?
Don't do this to me, Brian.
It does, in the sense that, so it's been done with photons, for example, so particles of light. So you can do the experiment where you essentially, it's based on having two photons that are entangled, quantum entangled together.
Oh, thank God. Thank God he's talking about quantum entanglement. Oh, Jesus Christ. What a relief.
So yes, we do quantum teleportation in the lab. So it's real. The question then becomes, how big an object can you teleport? And I think in principle, there's no reason why you can't teleport anything, right? But it's very much in principle.
Brian, you've really let me down here. I don't want to be told that in principle this is entirely possible. Phillips also claimed that some of his comments were taken out of context, although he never explained how. I don't know what context I teleported to a Waffle House makes sense in, but regarding one experience he wrote, out of context. This was a discussion during medical treatments in what we believed to be the last 3 months of my life. Sometimes it kind of answers itself, right? Since Brian let us down so bad by being excited about quantum physics, I can't blame him for that. It's cool stuff. We do luckily have a statement from Sidney Perkowitz, Professor of Physics at Emory University, who says, "The amount of information you need to reproduce something as complicated as a body is so immense that I don't think there's a number that can express it. Expressing what you need about every atom, every electron, etc. is just off the charts as far as the data goes." Now, if you're inclined to believe this spiritual conspiracy theory, unfortunately the science is no barrier, because it's God and God can do a miracle. He can do any miracle, any time, even if it seems utterly nonsensical, like picking up Gregg Phillips and plopping him down outside a church or at a Waffle House. Even though that seems completely inexplicable when you think of all of the horrible death and suffering in the world, that God would just be like, Gregg, I know because I know everything that you're not about to die. But since you think you are, I'm going to give you a ride to the Waffle House. This one's on me, pal. Even though that sounds completely unfeasible, as soon as you put the religious spin on it, well, God works in mysterious ways, he can do anything, and we can't understand why. That is what makes it, tragically, so incredibly difficult to change this kind of conspiracy thinking. At least from the sounds of it, Gregg's teleporting experiences are over, so maybe whatever medical episode was causing these blackouts, hallucinations, whatever it was, hopefully that's done with now, and he can focus on helping people in real disasters. Hooray. Everyone knows that teleportation is actually very easy, and all it requires is the command /TP. I got waffles. I'm just kidding. It's a bagel. Please do leave your thoughts down below, do like this video, share it with a pal, that always helps. Consider checking out my gaming channel, where I have just started playing the finally fully released I Am Jesus Christ. It's an Easter miracle.
Hello, Jesus.
Is that my followers up in the top right? It's me. Oh, I look older than I thought I was.
What is it?
At least I'm not white.
The Romans came here and literally destroyed Joachim's stall.
All it takes is one bow.
One bow. You can also catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/EmmaLittleDuck. I may even be live there tonight after this video. You don't know unless you follow me over there. And then you will know. Do check out today's sponsor using the link down below. The best way to support this channel is via the Patreon. With that, I must give a big old shout out and a thank you to my giant chickens and colossal quackers over on Patreon. Especially Conla. God damn it, Most importantly, have yourselves a very lovely week, and I will see you really soon.